Welcome to a brand new episode of Johnson's Court. Today we bring you the finals recap. It is over. The NBA season is done. The offseason now has begun. So there's a lot to kind of unfold just about the NBA finals, but then there's also a little bit to unfold about the NBA kind of draft. I think we all know who's going to go number one, but it'd be pretty cool to see, hey, things might happen, players might get traded, teams might move up. But before we get into all that, I have two people on the podcast today. Look at them.
What's up?
The volume is turned all the way up. You guys are by the speaker, so you should be able to hear you. Should be able to go well. But yeah, we're going to get into it, guys. So thanks once again for tuning in and listening to, it's kind of more of a three-way podcast and Zoom call instead of a car podcast like it was last time. So hopefully you guys like that as well. But the finals record, kind of how Rio and I have been keeping track. I went for a final of 8 wins and 6 losses. So, a little bit above 500. And then Rio went 10-5. So really cool, really good. He did pretty well predicting who he thought was going to get to the NBA finals. And, it's not always easy, upsets happen. We talked about that throughout the playoffs, and everything like that. But we'll just go ahead and get right into it. Before we kind of, get into like the deep stuff about stats, kind of, who won MVP, things like that. I'll go ahead and ask Rio and Zach I don't know how many games you watched, but what was your opinion or conclusion of the NBA Finals this year?
I kind of had a feeling the Miami would be outmatched. They wouldn't have much for Denver. Like, my heart was with Miami. I wanted the underdog to win. That would have been a great story, but just deep down, I kind of felt like they wouldn't have much to give them. They were just outmatched, and that's kind of how it played out.
All right.
Yeah, and then I just thought that it was going to be a lot more competitive than it was. I thought Jimmy, I thought they were just upset city all playoffs long. So I thought it was going to be a little more like a Game 7 situation. But, props to Joker, props to Murray. I just feel like they played a lot better team ball, whereas the Heat seemed like they were a crazy, amazing team. But when it all came down to it, at the end, it seemed like they relied on Jimmy solely at the end. What about you, Riley? What do you think?
Very true. I mean, you guys make, great points. And I was with the Nuggets here. I thought the Miami Heat definitely deserved to be in the finals with, what they were able to accomplish to get to the NBA Finals. But, yeah, I did think the Nuggets were, a little bit better. I mean, Bam matched up pretty well with Jokic, did everything he, could do. He led them in points. Bam did 21.8 points per game for the Heat. Jimmy was right behind with 21.6. So, right there, they were sharing the ball. So they were kind of playing, like team ball, team effort. They were running through their two superstars. Jokic, he won the MVP, deserved the MVP, should have had the regular season MVP as well. So, it just kind of goes to show, this guy really deserved it overall. And I'm happy for the Nuggets. This is the first time that they've ever won a championship. And, this could be the beginning of a dynasty. Who really knows? But we'll see what happens there. But I'll get into some stats real quick. So the Denver Nuggets were able to win 4-1. Like you said, I figured it'd be a lot closer. You guys thought it'd be a lot closer. There were a few games that the Miami Heat probably could have took, but just, missed opportunities down the stretch. The score wasn't very high in this finals at all. I think the highest score I saw was like 115 maybe at the max, but it was in the low hundreds if they even got in the 100s. Jokic won MVP, just like I said. He had 30 points per game, 14 rebounds, and 7.2 assists per game. And then on the Miami Heat side, Jimmy had 21.6 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 6.4 assists. Kind of just, we'll go through here. We'll go through the Nuggets first since they're the champions. What did you see worked for them and how they were able to, accomplish an NBA title? And then we'll obviously, talk about the Heat struggles and, what they could have done to improve. But we'll start with the Denver Nuggets first. Whoever wants to go, let us know what you think, how the Nuggets were able to, make their way through the playoffs and then ultimately come out on top.
Well, I'll go first. I've been super busy with getting ready for this fight. I've got coming up July 8th, about 3 weeks away. So I wouldn't be able to like keep my integrity and act like I watched all the games and stuff and just come up with something. I gotta be honest and say I don't know. I didn't watch that many of the games. You know what I'm saying? Just from a casual fan's perspective, it just seemed like Jokic was more dominant. But like I said, I can't keep my integrity and act like Jokic was the deciding factor because I really don't know.
I think we all are going to respect that for whoever watches the podcast, me as well. You watch some games and you saw this and that, you saw some highlights, and that's what you concluded, which was great. What about you, Rio?
Just real quick, towards the end, I can maybe ask you guys a couple of fight-related questions, just so I can feel like I could contribute to Johnson's court. You know what I'm saying? But my bad. Go ahead, Rio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hey, it was a good point. Joker was dominant. That's the facts. Fucking MVP of the league. Didn't win it this year. People could argue he should have. Him and Embiid were battling it out. Embiid ended up taking it away. It was, for the Nuggets, I feel like they played, I know that the Heat, they did use Jimmy, they did use Bam, they do got shooters, but I just feel like the Nuggets utilized every, little piece. They had Jokic, they had Murray. Aaron Gordon came out of nowhere. I don't think any of us, when he was playing in Orlando, thought that he might be on a championship roster one day. And so it was really cool seeing him explode, him taking advantage of mismatches. I feel like the Nuggets defense was a lot better than I thought that it was going to be coming into these finals. I thought that they were going to be okay for the majority of the playoffs, but when it comes to the big prime time, they've never been to the finals before. I thought maybe they were going to collapse a little bit, but they kept intact. So for the Heat, though, man, it was. I just think that they had a lot of undrafted players. I think that they are going to have experience by going to these finals. Jimmy's had experience now going to these two finals now. This is the second one he's been to. So I think the Heat are just improving. I think they just weren't up to par yet. I think the Nuggets have been knocking on this door for years now, and that's why they were able to really come in and dominate. But what do you think, Riley?
Absolutely. You guys made really good points. The Nuggets did seem kind of more like the complete package here. Aaron Gordon, I know he said he was like, I'm going to look back on this and tell him how I locked down Anthony Davis, how I locked down Karl-Anthony Towns, Kevin Durant, and then, Bam or, whoever he was guarding on the Miami Heat. So, and obviously he can't go back and say that he did win a chip. So I know he said it kind of early in game one, I think, or game two. But, like you said, kind of unexpected. But like you said, they did use all their pieces. They got Bruce Brown earlier in the season. That was a crucial piece. They used more of their depth, of their bench. And, of course, so did the Miami Heat. But I think you said it best. And even, I was going to say this. Undrafted players really hurt the Miami Heat. And it's not a diss at, you being an undrafted player. But there are other players who were drafted who are, on paper, you're going to say, oh, they're supposed to be here for a reason because they were drafted and you weren't. That's not necessarily the case, though. Obviously all these undrafted players on the Miami Heat, they were, able to upset teams along the way and make it to the NBA Finals. But I ultimately think that's kind of what, really hurt them. I'm not really going to say experience because the Denver Nuggets have never been to the NBA Finals. The only person who had Finals experience was Jimmy Butler. A few players. So Miami he had more experience than the Nuggets did, but the Nuggets were just more of a complete team. So it's just super exciting to see. This was a untraditional finals between not two powerhouse organizations like a lot of people thought the Lakers and Celtics were going to go. So I thought it was really cool to see the Nuggets come out on top, and I believe that they deserve to win the chip. And like I said, it could be sort of a dynasty. I don't really know, but we'll just see what happens in the next couple of years. I know, or obviously it's hard to run it back if you can win back to back, but I know that's their goal to see what they can do. Do they lose some pieces? Who do they resign? It all comes down to money, things like that. But with that being said, I know there's kind of it's not necessarily trade rumors going around, but if there's one point guard in the league who you think the Miami Heat could use, do you guys know what name is circulating around in the NBA?
Tell me.
Mr. Damian Lillard. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Damian Lillard will get traded. He, is with Portland. He said he wants to be there for a lifetime. Will the Miami take on their contract? Pat Riley isn't necessarily known of an owner to just go out and get superstars. He likes to build his teams, do things like that. Obviously, as you see these undrafted players turn into who they are, they're going to get the bag as well. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus,
Hey, Riley,
yeah.
just not to interrupt real quick, just for the sake of conversation on the podcast, didn't Pat Riley go get the big three of, LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh, the big superstars, the big super team?
Dwayne Wade was already there, right?
Yeah, but he formed a super team. Pat Riley,
yeah.
GM.
That is true. I guess I just heard, from other reports that Pat Riley just isn't known to just go out, trade a bunch of his pieces. But you are right. He did, make a big three. So I guess he went on and got two players.
That was a while ago. Just offering some counterpoints,
No, that's true. Because someone else would have that same counterpoint. So do you guys think Damian Lillard would be a good fit, or do you think a different point guard would be a better fit?
I think they could find. I think they got a good thing going in Miami. Obviously, they won the Eastern Conference. I think they could find somebody that gives them maybe less, less numbers on the stat sheet, but still just as productive. That's cheaper. And they don't have to get rid of as many pieces.
Yeah.
I don't think they should blow up the team to try to, bring Damian Lillard in. He's a great player, but I don't know. I don't think that's the right move for them to make. But if they can get him without getting rid of too many pieces, he'd look good in a Miami jersey, I'd say.
Yeah, and I also feel like he would just, he would elevate any team. But like Zach said, maybe they shouldn't give up as many pieces. I was just trying to think of who would be a good fit. I feel like Lonzo would be a good fit if he can stay healthy. Mm-hmm. But we all know that there's some issues with that.
Or a player like him, just a pass-first, defensive-minded, like somebody who could just be a good starting point guard. Doesn't have to be, Damian Lillard, all-NBA caliber.
That is true, too. The Heat, definitely, were able to show that they don't need, superstar, household names to get to the finals. Obviously you would say Jimmy Butler is a superstar, but I just don't see, I don't see Jimmy Butler being the man. I see him more being that two option. I feel like he's got the attitude to be the number one, but I just don't feel like he isn't. I watched a lot of the NBA finals, and to me, he was too passive. I feel like if you're going to be the number one man, you need to be more aggressive. That's what Jokic did. That's what Jamal Murray did. Obviously, they won 4-1. So, they did what it took. Bam was phenomenal this series. Bam deserves to get a bag. I don't know what his contract looks like or what he's up, bonuses or whatnot. But he played really well. He plays phenomenal. I really like him as a center. I feel like Kevin Love should have been utilized a little bit more in this series as well. I don't know. Obviously, we can pick and be like, the Miami Heat should have done this. Okay, the Nuggets should have done this to, maybe sweep them or whatever. But, at the end of the day, it was a good series, even though it was 4-1. If you go back and watch the highlights of the games and, you see them, you're like, man, this could have went to 6 games. Or, the outcome could have just changed a little bit, just depending on a few opportunities that were missed here and there.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's just how it goes. So with that being said, you got to ask the question: do you guys see the Denver Nuggets repeating as NBA Finals champions next year?
I can definitely see it for sure. I think. Jokic is going to be motivated by getting back to that. I don't think he'll accept anything less now that he's won a championship. He's going to play like a champion. We've never seen the version of Jokic play that feels like he's a champion, the best in the fucking world, you know what I'm saying? So I think they could for sure have a high chance of repeating, granted if they stay healthy and all that.
I say they definitely come out the West. I don't see the Suns making any more noise than they tried to make this year. I know that, they'll hopefully have KD all next year, and then they might make a piece with trading CP3. You never know. But I feel like bearing an East team, Giannis, he could make a crazy run with his team next year. You never know what the 76ers are going to do. You never know if Boston is going to meet them in there. So I think that they definitely come out of the West, but I don't necessarily see them repeating. I feel like it might be an East team next year.
That'd be pretty cool. If that happens, that would be. So I saw a stat that there was a different champion the last 5 years. So every single year there has been a different, like there hasn't been a repeat, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. It's been changing. Yeah, people that haven't gotten titles in a while, or the Nuggets have never gotten one. They're finally getting them. That's really cool to see, building history.
Exactly. I personally, I do think that they will. I think they'll come out of the West as well, as long, like you said, they stay healthy. Jamal Murray, coming back, from his ACL tear, last year, whatever, he thought, they were on their way in the bubble to, to do something great, got beat by the Lakers, whatever, and, it's just really cool to see, that whole Denver Nuggets team just, really, come together as a complete unit and win, their first title in franchise history. So I definitely see them, coming out of the West as well. Out of the East, you just never know. I really, as much as, I think the Celtics can do it, I think the 76ers, I think the Bucks are probably the most dangerous team to come out of the East next year. I don't know why, but when you said that about Giannis, I had a good feeling about that. All right, we have one more segment to go. I think they lost their video. Hopefully they come back online here. Should reconnect. But, before we get into that last segment, the Denver Nuggets had 12.2 turnovers per game. The Miami Heat only had 9.2. So with that being said, usually the team that has more turnovers loses, but that wasn't necessarily the case. And let's see, field goal percentage-wise. The Nuggets shot 50%. That's a 50% for the whole series. That's pretty crazy, if you ask me. Are we there? Are we back?
We're back.
Awesome, we're back. And then, from the free throw line, the Miami Heat shot 85% compared to the Denver Nuggets 76%. So, on different sides, the Miami Heat did this better, the Nuggets did this better. And obviously, the Nuggets did everything better because they came out on top. But our last segment that we're going to talk about here, and then I know Zach said he's going to bring some questions on at the end, is just Ja Morant, breaking news came out a little bit earlier today. We're going to talk about it on the pod, obviously. He is suspended the first 25 games of the season. So out of 82, that's about 30% of the games that he's going to play. This is a huge factor, for his team, who's going to stay on his team, who gets traded. I feel like a lot more goes into him getting suspended than what a lot of people are going to realize. I think this definitely, sucks for the NBA. I wish Ja Morant wasn't getting suspended at all, but, he did deserve to get suspended a little bit. He needed, to be put in a timeout and learn his lesson. So hopefully he really does learn his lesson after this, and, we don't have to worry about him, just kind of getting into trouble, making the NBA look bad, making himself look bad. We just want him to be in the NBA for a very long time. He's one of the faces of the league, and he's going to be one of the faces of the league, especially LeBron and, everybody, KD, all these, Steph, all these great players retire, here soon. So with that being said, kind of Rio, Zach, what do you feel about, the Ja Morant situation, and how much does it affect the Grizzlies going into next season?
Dude, it affects Ja, it affects the Grizzlies, it affects the whole NBA, it affects the fans. People, they love Ja. He's an up and coming rising star. For him, dude, this could mean no MVP, no NBA All Teams, no All-Star. I don't know if the All-Star, if that would be in jeopardy, but this could mean a lot of things for his personal just legacy and brand and his money. The Grizzlies, man, they're going to lose out. I wasn't the biggest fan of Dylan Brooks, but they let him go. Ja's going to miss 25 games. That's two big pieces. They're still going to have Jaren Jackson Jr. out there, but we'll see what they do off season to help them not just go 0-25. Which I don't necessarily think they're going to go 0-25, but it's going to be a way different team, at least for the beginning of the season. So I just hope that he gets it together. I just hope that he can, keep his personal life, and then keep a professional NBA life, so we can all just enjoy him and he can be a great player. That's what I'm hoping. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if from here he kind of he's in and out of trouble and he bounces around different teams and causes different problems, or if he, buys in to like you said, Sam, buckle down a professional, and that'd be a good redemption story. Like he could stay out of trouble and keep it professional, and people would probably forgive him. He didn't do anything totally unforgivable. He's acting like an idiot, but he could turn it around still. Or, like I said, he could still do dumb stuff and bounce around and blame it on this team's management and go to a different team and still do dumb stuff there. We've seen different things play out different ways, but it'll be interesting. He's a superstar player, superstar talent, and we'll see how his mindset is, coming to start the season a little late.
Absolutely, that's true. Like you guys said, it not only affects him, his brand, his image, but just the whole NBA and the Grizzlies as a whole. So, like you said, I don't think they'll go 0-25. They are able to win games without Ja, but they also had Dylan Brooks back. So I don't know what that team's going to look like. Come the NBA season. It's a little bit of ways away. So a lot can happen, especially with the draft that's coming up as well. So. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about before we let these beautiful people have a great Friday evening?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys about just mainstream fight news. Just curious what you guys, totally honest, would be more excited to see if you could only watch one fight. You could watch Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz in August, or you could watch Conor McGregor's comeback. At the end of the year, they haven't announced yet, when he's going to fight, who he's going to fight. But I know you guys, similar to me, are more of casual fan perspective to the NBA. You guys, you know the popular fighters, but don't watch all the fights. If you can only watch one, we'll step away from the lawnmower if you hear that out there. My bad. If you can only watch one, which one would you guys choose?
Here, I'll answer first. I would probably pick the Nate Diaz Jake Paul because, there's a lot of crap talking. We don't know Conor's opponent necessarily. I'm sure Conor, it's going to be – I'm cool to watch both, but there's a little more on the line, hopefully a little more emotion with this first one with Jake Paul, and see what he can do against someone that I think is pretty real. So what do you think, Riley?
Yeah, I mean, no matter who Conor's fight, it'll definitely be a really good fight. Whoever, he decides to go up in the octagon. But I think I'd rather see Nate Diaz just because I really want to see Jake Paul, excuse my language, get the shit beat out of him. I just really do. I just don't think he's fought anybody good. I don't think he's I don't think any of his fights have been good. I think that this would probably be the first fight to me that I'm this is the first fight that I really want to watch because I really feel like he's fighting okay, I guess it's UFC and it's boxing, so it's different because Nate Diaz is coming over to boxing, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess I do want to watch that one more, but I really want to see Jake Paul get in the octagon. That's what I really want to see because he can talk all this crap that he wants, but he's only throwing punches. He ain't throwing kicks. He ain't throwing headlocks, chokeholds. So that's what I really want to see him in. But I know he probably won't do it just because it's not that he's scared. It's that he wants to make the most amount of money. And where is it going to be in? It's going to be in the boxing. It's pay-per-view. People are going to pay for that. He's not stupid. He's not dumb about it. He knows what he's doing. But I just think that I think Nate Diaz could probably beat the shit out of him. Excuse my language, but I would just love to see that.
If he could go in the octagon and beat Nate Diaz in MMA, he would make more money doing that, right? If he could.
That I don't necessarily know. I know Dana White has talked about, like, I know there's been issues with fighters that, like, they don't get paid enough money, things like that. So, I mean, I don't know the whole story with that. Like I said, I'm just a casual fan, just what I see on the internet. So, he could make more money off of that. I have no idea. But from what I've seen, what I've heard is that, Jake Paul's making a ton of money, staying in the boxing kind of fighting. And just look at Floyd Mayweather. Why the fuck? Excuse my language, but why would Floyd? That's why Conor came to boxing.
Yeah, because there's no way Floyd would get killed if he went to. But the thing is, if Floyd had the skills to go into the octagon and fight with Conor, the fight that might have sold a little more.
Probably.
You know what I'm saying? But he just would have been so outmatched. But I see what you're saying about boxers going to UFC versus UFC going to boxing.
That's why it's always hard. I feel like
you want to see Jake get hurt, huh? You want to see him get, go to the hospital and stuff like that.
Not necessarily go to the hospital. I just want to see a really good. Fight.
That's what they're selling. So they can't expect anything else.
We'll obviously see what happens. When are they supposed to box? Do you guys know the date?
August 5th.
August 5th. That'd be okay. It's probably a pay-per-view, isn't it? Yes.
So I got a feeling if you guys had to go with a prediction, Riley's going with Nate Diaz.
That's who I'm going with. Yeah.
How do you think it gets done? I think they're doing 8 3-minute rounds.
They'll probably get bloody. Nate likes to bleed a lot, so. Nate might be the one bleeding. I don't know, but I don't know. It'll probably go to a decision.
Think so?
Has all of his fights gone to decisions?
Who?
Jake's?
No.
Did he knock Nate Robinson out?
He knocked out Tyron Woodley, the former UFC welterweight champion of the world, flatlined him dead on his face.
Yeah. Okay. Him. And then did he knock out anybody else?
Well, he knocked out Nate Robinson, but he's an NBA player.
Oh, okay.
He knocked out Ben Askren, former UFC champion, UFC fighter.
Okay.
Former UFC guy. He dropped Anderson Silva, didn't put him to sleep, but he dropped him. And Anderson Silva was like one of the best strikers in the world. They were still just boxing, just hands, but, Silva's had boxing fights before. He did MMA, and Jake dropped him with some legit skills, bro.
That is true. What do you think, Rio? Who do you got coming out of the square?
Well, I think that Jake Paul is a good fighter. Like I didn't watch any of the fights live, but I went back and watched his highlights for like Nate Robinson, is it Woodley or Wooley? Woodley. For Woodley. And for Askren. And so I don't think he's
World class.
Well, I don't think he's world class or, just a chump either. But I just feel like Nate Diaz has got a certain dog in him. And I think that we'll find out if Jake Paul has that, if he's willing to go as far as Nate Diaz. I just feel like Nate Diaz, dude, is going to keep going until he just can't. And, obviously that's their goal. That's what they're going to both do. But I just feel like Nate Diaz is going to go through a broken cheek, I don't know. Whereas Jake Paul may earlier. But I think that both of them are super skilled. I think Jake Paul is definitely he's super skilled in the boxing ring. So I think it'd be a good, close fight, but I think Nate Diaz might pull it off in the end. Did you give a prediction yet?
No, not yet.
All right, what do you think, Zach?
So how do you think Nate by decision?
I think Nate... I think Nate might knock him out 7th or 8th round, one of the last 2 rounds.
Put him to sleep or just get him so tired to where he, has to take a knee, the referee steps in, type of thing.
I think it may be like Jake is tired and he just gets hit with a few combos and it's like how you just can't control it sometimes. You get it.
Yeah.
I think that might be the issue.
That's a possibility. Nate's definitely more durable. I'd probably give you the nod on that. But like you said, Nate is the type of guy that will keep coming forward until he can't anymore. And I think Jake might put him into that spot where he is asleep and he can't keep coming forward. I think Jake has a possibility of catching him early and knocking him out. I hate to say that, but Nate walks into a lot of punches. He's durable, so you can eat him, but you can't eat all of them. And Jake's a big dude. He's got skill. I don't know. I mean, if he can weather that early storm, I could see Nate winning at the end, but if I had to make a prediction, I'd say Jake would probably knock him out within 4 rounds.
I got a quick question for Zach. Do you think that they're both underestimating each other?
No, I think they're both taking it serious, training every day, and ready for pain.
Okay. Sounds like it's going to be a good fight.
But that's just interesting to see that you guys are, where the mainstream interest is, more leaning towards this fight and kind of checked out on McGregor. Maybe as it gets closer and you have an opponent and a date and he's doing interviews, you get more excited for a Conor fight, but just something I was curious about.
I feel like I will respect Jake when he goes over to the UFC side. But I know that that's never going to happen, so I can't.
Wait, what's up? I can't hear you.
I said I will respect Jake when he goes over to the UFC side, but until then, I can't.
You can't respect him. Why's that?
Just because, let's see, Anderson. So he's fighting one. So Nate is a UFC fighter.
He's fighting.
But it's different though. Like that was, I don't know. That's why I didn't really care for the Conor McGregor and the Mayweather fight, because I mean, yeah, they fought, but I feel like if you're gonna do one in boxing, you should do the other one on the other side.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I guess that's how I see it. I mean, people can disagree with me. I mean, I'm not right. I mean, that's just what I think, I guess.
Yeah, you don't have to respect anybody.
I think they should do WWE with Stone Cold.
See, they could even do a third option. Look at that. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Obviously, because I don't know when the next podcast is going to come out for you guys, just because now the NBA is over, the NFL's in the off season as well. Hockey just wrapped up as well. The Vegas Knights just won. So is there anything that we want to, kind of leave our subscribers on a cliffhanger or anything like that?
I mean, hey, I would just like to say, if there is any reoccurring subscribers watching, in the comments, if you want us to do maybe baseball once a month, or maybe we could do fighting, UFC, we can bring Zach back on once a month. We can just, what you guys liking? And then maybe we can, adapt and do a little bit of that, maybe once a month or every once in a while. Because different sports have different, checkpoints. Like the NFL, we could do once a week. The NBA, it's a little bit different. I know the MLB has a lot more games, but yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say, man. Is any subscribers out there, man, just leave us in the comments what you think.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
I think we're going to end on that note. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your Friday, and we will see you again.
All right, peace.